Welcome back to another episode of the Rational Football League Show. My name's Emmett. I'm here with my co-host Brendyn Ford.
What's up, y'all?
It's been an exciting week in the NFL. We're going to dive right into it, but first you guys can find us on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. We're going to be discussing this week, highlighting Michael Pittman Jr. and the performance he's been putting up this season. We're also going to look at a draft profile of Jayden Daniels, and we're going to discuss the Chargers situation, what improvements could be made about it, how do they fix the problems they have. But let's get right into it, B. Starting off with our segment on the news of the week. Starting out with a big one, quarterback Justin Herbert is out for the season with a broken index finger. They played Thursday night against the Raiders and got absolutely mollywopped.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yes. And I don't know how much Justin Herbert being in that game would have changed that outcome, but, we'll never know now. At least it worked out kind of in Chargers fans' favors because I know they've wanted Brandon Staley gone, and that game ultimately did lead to Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco getting fired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? You think it was the right move? Should they wait to the end of the year? Should he have been fired at all?
He should have been fired long ago. I was actually watching the Pat McAfee show on Friday. And Adam Schefter said he heard rumors that the Chargers ownership was thinking about firing Brandon Staley 2 times prior to Thursday's game. So they're on the fence about it. It should have happened a few weeks ago. And they made a good point that usually if you get mollywopped by the divisional rival, that usually sparks change. And getting 40 piece, losing by 40 to the Raiders on Thursday Night Football definitely sparked that change. And I'm actually I guess it makes sense to fire the GM and the head coach and get a group in there or a pair in there at the same time so they're on the same page. I didn't know the GM was on the chopping block too. That was a little bit newer to me because everyone was talking about Staley and whatnot. But yeah.
So Tom Telesco has been there since 2013. So he's been there under multiple head coaches. He's the reason the roster is the situation is today. And and we'll discuss this fully in our Chargers segment later on. So stick around to hear our thoughts on all of that. But yeah, the situation kind of really for the GM being fired because again, it's another coaching hire that hasn't paid out. He's been there since 2013. They really haven't had a track record of success. I think he's 88 and 93 in his tenure there. And we'll discuss the cap situation later. But I mean, their cap, I was trying to fuck with it last night just to kind of see what solutions we can come up with. It is a mess. I mean, I didn't realize how top heavy this team is. You think of the big names, but they are a very top heavy team. There's no depth there. There's no youth. And a lot of the money's tied up in between 6 or 7 players that are honestly kind of hard to get. If you get rid of, you're losing the foundation of your team. So it'll be interesting when we discuss that later. We'll get into more. But yeah, you can't get 40 piece by a team that's already fired their head coach this year and expect to still have your job. I love his excuse about it too. Is it's the NFL. It happens. I was like, no, not to a team that already fired their head coach to a backup rookie quarterback. It doesn't happen like that. So
42-0 at halftime, right?
Come on, 42-0.
Come on,
terrible,
man.
Dude.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Speaking of firing, apparently Robert Kraft has reportedly said he's moving on from Bill Belichick after the season, and a news report came out this morning from I believe it was from the Athletic that pretty much confirmed that decision that the Patriots will be moving on from Bill Belichick. You did put out a tweet this morning from the account that I thought was kind of interesting, and it's kind of gotten some pushback already this morning. I don't know if you've checked that since.
It's just the usual stuff, you know what I mean?
Just the usual stuff. Your suggestion was the Patriots shouldn't fire Bill Belichick, the coach. They should fire Bill Belichick, the GM, and hire a new GM. I was kind of hoping, and I figured I'd give you a minute to kind of elaborate on that thought process and why you think that's the right approach.
I just want to fire a guy that brought you 6 titles. It just seems to me, it seems like the obvious choice. I understand trying to get fresh blood in there and maybe a revamped mindset and whatnot. But, I mean, that's almost a level of, Bama firing Saban after a few years of just being, down. It's just one of those things that I think that the GM head coach simultaneous job role has proven to not be as beneficial to an org, especially in like today's day and age. And like I just think it's an obvious choice to get a GM in there. Let them handle the roster management stuff. Obviously, Bill will still have his hand in it, like most head coaches do, right? But like make head coaching his primary thing. Keep the main thing the main thing. Go coach the team. Hire GM. And if that doesn't work out, right, then you can move on from him. But I just would not move on from Bill. I mean, he's the GOAT. And I just think it's a little bit, I get it. Brady's been gone for a couple years now, and the team hasn't been as solid. But they made the playoffs, back in 21?
I
It's
believe
not like
so.
you're going through like 5 years of being like a 3 or 4 win team, right? It's been the past couple years where things have not been solid. And I mean, you can kind of question his coaching decisions and bringing on coaching and on his staff. I mean, they had like two previous defensive minded guys being like the co-offensive coordinators last year, and things
Yeah.
were just a mess, right? So I guess you can question that, but I would not fire him. I would make him be just go be the head coach. We're gonna hire GM, and then just go on from there.
Yeah, I can see your thought process on it. I think part of the argument also becomes, was it really Bill Belichick that led those championships? Was it Tom Brady? And I think with all things, it's a a hand in hand. It's a co-ownership. I don't think it gets associated with any one person. It wasn't like Brady went to a new team that was terrible and just took him to the Super Bowl and won it. I mean, that team had Mike Evans, it had Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette, it had a bunch of dudes that were trying to quickly join the Buccaneers because Tom Brady was there. So I can see your point. I can side with and agree with it. I don't think it'd be a terrible decision to do that. I just don't know how open to that Bill Belichick would be. He might it may be a him decision where he's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to work with a new GM. If you're going to do that, you might as well just fire me. So
Yeah,
I'm curious to see what
fair.
that kind of discussion would look like. But moving on to some other news, the Miami Dolphins have signed pass rusher Melvin Ingram to their active roster. He's been with them before. I don't know how much this really moves the needle for him. I believe it was Jordan Phillips actually got hurt. I don't remember if it's a season-ending injury for Jordan Phillips, but it should help bolster that pass rush a little bit. The
Yeah, I think
Vikings
he
have
tore
also.
his
Go on.
ACL.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah, I
Yep.
was just saying about Phillips. I think he tore his like knee, so I think that's why that's what sparked this
Yeah,
like signing. And Melvin
that
Ingram's a
would
little
make
bit
sense.
aged too, so he probably was like out there like this fishing and came up like, yeah, sure, I'll just play.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's like 34 now. The Vikings have
Okay.
made another change at quarterback. They are going to be rolling with Nick Mullins as the starter going forward. Curious your thoughts on this. I know Doms has not been great the last few weeks, and I think it was quarterback school. Was it JT O'Sullivan or Chase Daniels that came out arguing that, well, it really isn't on him. It's been this, it's been drops, it's been play calling, whatever it's been. I mean, I'm curious your thoughts. Do you think this is the right
Yeah,
move going forward for them?
I think that might have been Kurt Warner that said that maybe.
Kurt Warner, you're right. Yep.
Yeah, 'cause I was reading through his tweets. Obviously, like I didn't watch the level of breakdown what he was watching, more like box score watching. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, you can tell that Dow's been struggling since I think the Broncos game. That was a primetime game a few weeks ago where he was struggling a bit. I think he threw like a pick or two. Um, but I don't know, man. I mean, I get the Vikings' point of view. They're trying to get something started so they can keep their playoff hopes alive. Win a few more games to try to like sneak in the playoffs. So like, I don't hate the move, and obviously like KOC is doing a good job there, right? I don't know. I mean, I get it, but I don't really have a strong opinion on it. If Nick can get them a couple more wins before the end of the season, sneaking the playoffs, then it's good. It's a good move. I think they're kind of just grasping at straws here, to be honest. I think this move is like, hey, like I can feel our season slipping out of our hands here. We're kind of trending downward. We need like a spark, a change. So Nick,
Yeah.
go ahead, go in there.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of at this point what we kind of expected it was going to be when Kirk Cousins went down. The season's lost. I mean, I believe they're 7-6 right now. which is good. I mean, it's impressive considering what the situation it has been. They've had Justin Jefferson out for multiple weeks. They've had Kirk Cousins out for a while now, and he's gone for season, obviously. But we know what Nick Mullins is. Nick Mullins isn't a franchise quarterback. He's not going to come in and save this season. He's not going to save this team. He might play well for a game, but then he's going to regress back to what he is. I'm curious about your quick thought on this, just because I don't want to linger on it for too long. Why not go with the rookie? I mean, they moved Dobbs down to third string, and they've now made the rookie, I think the rookie Hall, second string. But why Nick Mullins instead of giving the rookie a shot?
I think Nick Mullins has the experience, and that gives him the edge over this rookie, right? Because if you're in the mindset of KOC and you're like, okay, I need to get a guaranteed like 2 more wins out of the last 4 weeks to try to make the playoffs. And again, guys, I don't know the exact playoff picture and what these scenarios are, right? So I'm throwing out a random number out there. Let's say you need to win two out of the next 4 to make it in. I'm not gonna put my money on a rookie that hasn't really played at all this season. I think he played like a quarter or something like that, like a few weeks ago before Dobbs started playing. I think it's just like the Falcons, I think it was, maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I going to put my trust in a guy who's been in like the league for a while, has experience, and someone that I can count on more to get at least 2 more wins before the end of the season? Like, I'm putting my money on a guy who has experience. But I mean, they're around these guys more than us, right? So I think KOC have seen this rookie for the whole season in practice and whatnot. So that move just tells me that, like, one, the Dobbs run is over. Like, he's not getting back in the game. Like, no. He's like, I am done with you. We're focusing on these 2 guys, and then I'm putting my trust more in Nick Mullins more than this rookie to get us 2 more wins before end of the season.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how it goes for them going forward. I mean, Nick Mullins has obviously a lot of experience in that system. It's the Kyle Shanahan system that he ran under. KOC is a branch off of that Shanahan tree. He went with McVay, but McVay's from the Shanahan tree. So it's the same kind of similar offense, similar bones in it. So, I mean, Nick Mullins should be okay for at least a week or 2. But, as with all things, he usually kind of, like I said, regresses back to the mean, starts throwing some stupid picks. But I'm curious. I mean, he's looked solid before, so maybe he can come out and have another insanity run kind of a thing for him. Moving on, we have a couple injuries for the Dolphins. So Tyreek Hill is day-to-day with an ankle injury, and Dolphins center Connor Williams has tore his ACL and will be out for the season. Really unfortunate for Connor Williams because I know he's kind of struggled in the league until he got to the Dolphins, where he's kind of found, it seems like, a home this year. He's played well, so it's very unfortunate to see a solid season end in that kind of fashion for that kind of guy. But how do you think this affects the Dolphins' playoffs opportunities going forward?
Well, doesn't really, I think, affect the playoff picture for them. It more or less impacts the seeding. I think they're going to make the playoffs regardless.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't clinched anything yet, but I think they're sitting at 9-4 right now. So they were kind of on the fringe of getting a top seed if they weren't already a top seed. I know the Ravens were up there too. Like, I don't see them unless they just lose like 4 straight games or something like that, or 3 straight games, or 4. Bless you.
Thank you.
I think they're safe to make the playoffs. It's just seeding right now, right? I know they're going for the top seed to get that first round bye. Sucks for Connor because I think he's a free agent after this season. And I'm like the local Bears fan here, and like Bears Twitter like loves him. They picked him as like a future target for the Bears because they need a new like center, stuff like that. So it sucks for him because I wonder how this like affects his market going into next year. Like, obviously he might have to play on like a discount now coming off an ACL tear. And it's kind of, I wish Tyreek Hill was healthy enough to go get that 2,000-yard season. I think that would be super, super cool. Obviously, we had hopes for Justin Jefferson to hit that mark before he got hurt, right? So, like, seeing a guy just hit that mark, I think that would be super cool. I think he still needs, like, a little under 500 yards to hit it. I think he needs, like, 450-something. So I kind of just, my own selfish needs as, like, a Bears fan, as a football fan, to see him get that 2,000-yard mark, because I think that'd be just fucking cool. But yeah, I mean, I think he got hurt during that drop tackle too, so that's another topic we can talk about some other day. I heard rumors that the league wants to make that an illegal play. But yeah, I was like, damn. When I saw it happen, that sucks, bro. That sucks. But hopefully he's good enough to play this week.
Yeah, I agree. We need to talk about that a little more extensively. I think the NFL came out, I think it was this week, and just announced a few things they're going to be looking at, like taking the hip drop tackle out of the game, reviewing the tush push if it needs to be removed or not. So it's just some stuff like that. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It would have been really cool to see him get to 2,000 yards. I mean, it's not that he can't at this point, but I think you need to average, 125 receiving yards a game in order to get there.
Yeah.
So not out of the realm of complete possibility, but it's starting to seem more like a fantasy at this point.
Yeah.
But that does conclude our news of the week segment, guys. We're going to be turning it over to our relatively new segment. One that fans suggested to us a couple weeks ago, that we've really fallen in love with quickly here. We are smitten with it. We're going to turn on the spotlight. Wow, I messed that one up. That's crazy.
No, it's cool.
Turn on the spotlight.
It sounded great.
It's early here. I was up till 2 a.m. making notes, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, we're going to turn the spotlight on Indianapolis Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr., a guy that's been having a stellar season and isn't getting the recognition he needs to. B's been making bets on this guy all season, making a bunch of money. So I'm going to turn over to him. I'm going to let him take over this segment and introduce you guys to Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah, so Michael Pittman Jr. has been in the league for a few years now, so I don't think we need to get in the weeds of his strengths, what stuff he doesn't do well, whatnot. We all know who he is. He's 6'4", 200 plus. He did run a 4.5 at his combine or his pro day a few years back, and the way I kind of describe his ability is I don't know if y'all played Madden a while ago or NCAA 14, but when you created a player, you could pick what skill set they had, and they had templates for that player, like a sure-handed guy, a freak athlete, or balance. I think he's just perfect sure-handed receiver. He doesn't really play fast. He doesn't look really athletic to me, but he just catches almost everything that comes his way, and that segues into the whole sports betting thing too. So, as E has said, I've been placing the straight bets on his reception lines for the past almost the entire season, since week 4, I think. And every week, Vegas does not up his line, which I don't know why. I don't know if there's one is to keep betting it, and then one day he just flopped and they make a bunch of money, because I've been making a ton of profit off Michael Pittman Jr. His line right now on FanDuel is 6.5 receptions. And to give y'all some context, he hit that line for 6 weeks straight, right? So it's been the free boom, boom, boom for 6 straight weeks, getting more than 7 catches. And he hit that line for 10 weeks overall this entire season. So he's winning a lot more than not. And I think that I'm going to keep betting that line for the rest of the season. Yeah, sure, he might not hit it here and there. He might not even hit it today, since we are recording on Saturday. But I mean, he's winning more times than not. So you're going to make a guaranteed profit on it. And I'll keep it short and sweet. That's kind of my spotlight on him. If you all do bet, if you haven't already, for the next 4 games, bet on his receptions line, because he's hitting that more times than that. And I won't be surprised if FanDuel just ups it to 8 or something like that, because he's getting at least 8 catches for the past 6 weeks. It's wild. It's almost free money.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely is free money. I mean, just to emphasize it too, he's got 95 receptions through 13 games so far this year. So he's averaging about, 6 receptions a game anyway. So his average is literally what the weekly bet's pretty much been. And just to elaborate a little more from the football side of it, guys, he's the ultimate possession receiver. He's the vacuum. I just need to get out to somebody. Just to give you the context of that kind of why I say that, he's had 1,000 yard season. That was his second year. He barely broke it with 1,082, but he had 88 receptions. In 2022, he didn't even hit 1,000. He had 925 yards. but 99 receptions. I mean, guys that are getting 100 receptions a year, almost 100 receptions a year, usually those are guys that are going for like 1,500 yards. So to be getting those kind of receiving numbers, receptions numbers without the yardage, just kind of tells you everything you need to know. He's that wide receiver too. He's that possession guy. He's the sure-handed kind of guy. I mean, every season he's got a catch percentage almost 70%. His lowest was his rookie year where he had 65, but last year was literally 70%. I mean, that's a wild number for success for a receiver. And we do know, I think he's a free agent, like you mentioned, going after this season. And he's the kind of dude that you would love to pair with, like a Stephon Diggs. You want to pair him with like a Jamar Chase, someone where you've got a well-established wide receiver one that's going to take a lot of the tension away, and you can just go in there and thrive and be that sure-handed kind of guy. As for contract, I don't see him getting like the top 20, 25 million a year. But if he came in around 15, 18, I think that'd be a solid payday for him, and I think that's something a team would probably be comfortable with. We know what we're getting out of this, but yeah, just like a chain mover kind of guy, like almost an Anquan Bolden kind of. I don't think as elite as Anquan Bolden, but that kind of that vibe. But
yeah,
that's our spotlight on Michael Pittman Jr.
Like wide receiver one money. Yep.
No. That's our segment on Michael Pittman Jr., guys. That's our turn on the spotlight segment. Let us know in the comment section what you think. Is there anything we missed? Do you disagree with him being a possession receiver? Do you think he's going to get paid something more? Give us a like. Hit the subscribe button. We do this every week. From there, guys, we're going to be moving on. We're going to get to our games of the week. We do this every week. We make a bunch of money every week doing these games of the week. I think last week we went 2-2. I think last week we went 2-2, right?
Yep, correct.
I think over the season we are at about 60% on our predictions. So we know our shit.
We're all right. We're all right.
Well, we do okay. We do just enough. This week, we're going to look at the Bills-Cowboys games. We're going to give our predictions on that one, the Ravens-Jags, and the Buccaneers-Packers game. All right, let's get right into it, B. Starting off with the fun game of the week. This is the hot game. Bills-Cowboys. This is a big one for NFC seeding. It's a big one for the Bills' playoff chances. The game's going to be in Buffalo. The Bills are favored by 2.5. ESPN predictors giving the Bills a 49.9% chance of winning. It's going to be 36 and cloudy. So not a gimme game by any stretch of the means.
Yeah.
Who are you taking?
It's going to be a tough game. I usually go Bills when we pick the Bills for a game of like the week, but I think I'm going to go Cowboys here. I'm going to go with the slight upset. Mostly because it's not really hard data, but I want to believe this is the Cowboys season to kind of make a run, maybe. That this could be the first year, right? I know we always have hype going into the playoffs and kind of fizzle out. But after the strong performance last week, and I know they're hot at home and they struggle-ish on the road, but I just think that maybe they finally turned that corner. They had a good game last week. They're on a hot hand right now. I want to believe they go to the Bills' house, take care of business, and win a close one. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys here.
Yeah, and I think you kind of nailed the point that I was kind of looking up right now. I was trying to see what the Cowboys' record is at home and away. I think they're undefeated at home this season. And I think all of their losses have come on the road. Let's try to verify that real quick. Yeah, they definitely been a different.
Close. Only lost a couple games.
Yeah. See, I'm trying to find it here. Okay, cool. So they lost to New England. Oh, it looks like they lost to New England at home. No, yeah, at home. They lost to the 49ers on the road, and they lost to the Eagles on the road. So 2 of their 3 losses have come. I'm sorry, all 3 of their losses. I missed all that. All 3 of the losses have come on the road to the Cardinals, to the 49ers, and to the Eagles. So they seem to struggle with good and one bad team on the road. DVOA has the teams both close. I think the Bills are 6 at the Cowboys being 4. I'm going to go with I guess kind of an upset, maybe the betting line favorite. I'm going to take the Bills in this one. I think the Bills need this to stake in the playoffs. I think they're going to come out hot. I think the Cowboys are kind of due for a little bit of a regression game. I'm not saying anything bad about the Cowboys. I'm just saying it's common when you've been on a heater like they've been on, putting up 40 points, stack throwing for 350 points. you're kind of due for a clunker of a game. And I think this might just be the one that they have. I don't think it's going to be a blowout or anything in that kind of a fashion. I think the Bills probably would win by about 7 or something like that. But I can definitely see this one being one of the ones that the Cowboys slip up on. So give me the Cowboys in this one. So you're taking Bills. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm taking
taking Cowboys.
Bills in this one. I'm
Yep,
so sorry.
yep.
Again, up till 2 a.m. I'm taking the Bills in this one. You're taking the Cowboys. See how
Yep.
that one plays out. I mean, it's also going to be freezing out there. It's going to be 36 degrees and cloudy. So it kind of makes me think whoever can run the ball a little bit better is definitely going to have a better chance. And the Bills' run game has been inconsistent but explosive this season. And I feel like the Cowboys' run game has pretty much been non-existent under Tony Pollard. And I think he's the last remaining running back they have left.
Tony Pollard kind of fizzled out this year. Like, he had high expectations. I feel like the running game has been, to your point, that's not there. You know?
Yeah. Moving on, we got the Ravens-Jaguars game next. This is, again, another big game for AFC seeding. You got the Ravens, who are currently, I believe, the number 1 seed or number 2 seed. I think they're the number 2 seed, with the Dolphins being the number 1 seed. You got the Jaguars, who are trying to hold on to their AFC playoff hopes, division-winning hopes. The game's going to be in Jacksonville. The Ravens are favored by 3.5. ESPN predictor is giving the Ravens a 63.6% chance of winning the game. It's going to be 62 degrees and cloudy. And based on Trevor Lawrence playing last week, I think it's safe to assume he'll be playing this week as well. B, who are you taking and why?
Give me the Ravens. And for our games of the week, that was the easier pick for me, which probably means you're going to end up losing. So, but I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I think they're clear cut. This the better team. The data shows it. I think the only way they lose is if they kind of beat their own selves with flags, turnovers, whatever. I don't like the way the Jaguars are really playing right now. They kind of look really, really sloppy over the past couple weeks. Give me the Ravens.
Yeah, I kind of learned early on with our segments and doing this. I'm not picking against the Ravens. I did it a couple times early on and got burnt both times. I'm going to stick with the Ravens. They're a fantastic team. I mean, they're competing for the number 1 seed. They're the Super Bowl favorite, I think, right now out of the AFC. Again, like I said last week with the Lions and the Bears, this is the kind of game you have to win if you're the Ravens. Their defense has been spectacular. Lamar Jackson's having a fantastic season, rounding back into form. Zay Flowers looks like an exciting young player. And for the Jaguars, I mean, you have Trevor Lawrence coming off or playing through a high ankle sprain, which limits his mobility, which makes him more like one of those kind of statue pocket passers, which the Ravens team is going to feast off of. I think they actually lead the league in sacks, don't they? Or they're like a top 5 team in sacks.
Yeah.
So this one seems like a no-brainer to me. Like, I agree with what you said. While the spread may be close at 3.5, you have to remember the home team automatically gets favored 3 points. So this actually is about a touchdown difference between these teams. So yeah, give me the Ravens in this one as well. Moving on to our last game, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Green Bay Packers. Packers, I believe, pulled off the upset last week against the Chiefs. That was their last game, right?
No, they lost against the Giants on Monday Night Football. But to your point, that was a big
that's right.
couple weeks ago. Yeah,
that's right. Right, Packers returned to doing the Packer thing of losing to the Italian god Tommy DeVito.
Tommy
DeVito. I'd slide him in into this conversation at some point. There's no way I was going to be able to put him in here. So the game will be in Green Bay. The Packers are favored by 3.5. ESPN predictor is actually giving the Buccaneers a 56.4% chance of winning. It's going to be 34 degrees and cloudy for the weather of the game. B, who are you taking?
This game's actually kind of tough. I pulled up each team's injury report here, and they're both banged up. You have Jair, who was questionable. He's been out for a while now. AJ Dillon for the Packers popped up on the injury report this week with the game status of also questionable. Aaron Jones is questionable. He hasn't been playing a lot. And then Christian Watson is doubtful, so he's probably not going to play. And then on the flip side, the Bucs, Carlton Davis is out. Godwin is questionable. Vita Vea is doubtful, which is huge against the Packers, right? Because now you lose your inside run support there. So he's not going to play. And then Devin White is questionable. So it's kind of hard to judge, especially given the factor they're playing at Lambeau and in December. So they actually broke their undefeated record in the month of December last week against the Giants. I think during LaFleur's tenure, he was like 15-0 in December going into that
something like
Giants
15 or
game.
16 and
So
something like that.
they're 15-1 now, playing in Lambeau, and it's cold, which is big for that Florida team. Tampa Bay going into the cold weather. But enough of the teaser. I'm gonna go with the Bucks here. I'm just going to trust the data. I mean, to me, it's almost like a coin flip. I think I can feel this being a game where the Packers struggle early on and have to come back later on, but they're really, really banged up, more banged up than the Bucks. And for that reason, I'm going to go with the Bucks.
I'm going to go against you on this one. I'm going to take the Packers in this one. DVOA has the Packers ranked as the higher team. They're at home. They're used to the frigid, cold temperatures of Wisconsin. You have the fair weather Florida Bucks coming up to play them. Usually fair weather teams have a little bit of struggle in December playing in Green Bay. We've seen it season after season. I do agree, like you said, the injuries are going to play a huge role in this, but missing Vita Vea for the Buccaneers defense it's a huge loss. There's just not really a whole lot of dudes that are doing what he can do. I know Christian Watson's out, like you said, and you said Jalen Reed's out as well, or is Jalen Reed playing?
He's playing. He doesn't have a game status, but they're missing Dontavian Wicks. He's questionable. So he stepped up for them. Yeah.
So I mean, Reed's been having a decent couple performances the last few weeks, I believe. His connection with Jordan Love seems like it's really starting to come along. So as long as they have him, and I think they have Luke Musgrave as their tight end, I believe.
No, he's on IR. They have Kraft right now playing from the other rookie.
Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah, sorry. He's had a decent little run now too. Yeah, but I'm trusting the Packers in this one to get it done at home. Like you said, LaFleur was undefeated until last week against the Giants, but I really like the way the Packers have been playing in the last few weeks of the season. They're really good at home, especially this time of year. Give me the Packers in this game.
I would say if Aaron Jones is playing, my choice would probably flip, but he's been questionable for the past 5 weeks or something like that. He has.
I know it's kind of. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them with
him
and
their
Dylan injuries.
Both out, I don't know, but with Aaron Jones in an offense, it's a completely different offense. So I think Aaron Jones plays, they have pretty good chance of winning.
Yeah, who did they just sign to their practice? Didn't they just sign a running back to their practice squad?
They had James Robinson for a few weeks now, but he hasn't been getting a whole lot of takes, so he probably could be active tomorrow if Dylan and Jones can't go. They have someone else too, number 27. I can't think of his name right now though, but he's been the backup running back. Yeah.
And again, it's one of those outside zone schemes that as long as I won't say it's replaceable running backs, but it's a friendly system for running backs that makes it much easier for them to spot holes and to perform well.
Yeah.
So, I agree. If Aaron Jones it makes it a much different look at the game, but I'm still taking the Packers in this one. So I'm going Bills. You're going Cowboys. We both went Ravens. And then I'm going Packers, and you're going Buccaneers. You got that right?
Yep.
Seriously, one of us is going to go 1-2. The other one's going to go 2-1. We'll see. Or we can go 3-0. Well, I can't go. Never mind. Can't go 3-0. If we went 3-0, something's gone terribly.
Well, if we have tied, I don't know.
I was gonna say I feel like we could just kind of net zero that one there.
Yeah.
Perfect, guys. So that does end our Games of the Week segment. For those who have been waiting around for this, so you can see our regular segments. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for bearing through with us. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the podcast. But for those that did watch that Games of the Week segment, tell us what you think. Who are you taking in those 3 games and why? We love to hear from you guys. Again, so if you've now jumped to this time point because you're ready to hear the segments, welcome back. It's been fun. You guys missed a whole lot of interesting talk about games and player spotlight on Michael Pittman Jr. So I would go back and check that out if you could. But if not, you just want to get to the segments. We're going to break it down right now. Starting off with probably one that's going to get the most interest from this episode is the Jayden Daniels draft profile. So I don't want to beat around the bush with this. I want to get you guys right to what our thoughts are, and then we can for those that want to linger around for the explanation of why we came up with these thoughts that we did, we will explain that as well. So quarterback Jayden Daniels from LSU, he's 6'3", he's 185 pounds. Games that I watched were his Army game, Alabama, and Auburn, all from 2023. I like to watch the newer games because I'm watching the product that's as closely going to be playing the NFL and not 3 years ago from a dude. So the pros of Jayden Daniels, he's hyper athletic. He's great with running with the ball in his hands. He is a big play waiting to happen. He's always keeping his eyes downfield. He does a good job of towing the line between aggressive and reckless. He doesn't put the ball into too many dangerous situations, but he's always looking to, get the 20, 25, 30-yard throw downfield. He has a good arm. I wouldn't say he has a strong arm. And he seems to learn from his mistakes quickly, and he rarely repeats them. He makes decent pre-snap reads. Like I said, so kind of more into that vein of like a Justin Fields kind of thing. The cons I have for him, I didn't think he was great at throwing on the run. There was a couple balls I saw where they either like didn't have the same kind of steam on them or just inaccurate. He loses a good amount of velocity and accuracy while on the move. He can have a consistency problem with his footwork. There's a couple of times where he either was like falling out of his throws, where he really wasn't getting his feet aligned with where he was throwing to, so the ball came out a little high or a little behind. That could be cleaned up. Sometimes he seemed too eager to become a runner, so even if he had a clean pocket, he wasn't waiting for someone to get open or anything like that. He was just immediately tucking it down and running, which usually at that level was okay, and it didn't really cost him too much, but when you get to the NFL level, you don't want to be taking that many hits. I did see him get blown up one time in the Alabama game. He tried tucking it and running it, just got killed by a D tackle and a linebacker him at the same time, and he just flew like 3 or 4 yards back.
Yeah,
it was a tough sight to see there. He doesn't often throw with anticipation, but he did do it a few times in the film I watched, so he is capable of throwing with anticipation. So that's something that could possibly be developed in the NFL. So yeah, kind of like I alluded to a little bit in the pros. When I say a comp, I don't mean like this is exactly what he's going to be and this is how it's more of like a style comp. Like his strengths align with this person's strengths and his weaknesses align with their weaknesses to varying degrees.
Right.
So for style comp, I said he was a Justin Fields to me. Any team that drafts him, you're going to have to hope that his legs can buy him enough patience from an organization to develop more. Kind of like that quote we saw from the assistant general manager from the Bills from the Bears that drafted Justin Fields. That was their hope, was that his legs would buy him enough time to develop. One of the big differences between Justin Fields and Jayden Daniels coming into this draft is Justin Fields had only had about 650 pass attempts in all of college. And Jayden Daniels at this point has about 1,300 pass attempps.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's coming in with twice as much experience as Justin Fields did, so that should help accelerate his development. He's coming as more as a finished product versus Justin Fields did. Another thing I really liked, I think is going to play a lot into his success, is his ability to learn from his mistakes. There's a couple times to point out where in our pre-show we talked about, where he was missing certain throws or he wasn't getting to this read quick enough. And then later in that same game, he was fixing those mistakes, which is fantastic to see. It shows me he's very coachable. He seems to have a lot that he can still grow as a passer, either that's getting to reads quicker, spotting certain leverages that he could exploit, staying in the pocket and allowing things to develop and not taking as many hits. Let's see. And just like Justin Fields, he's, with the Bears, he was also part of a good offense that was consistently let down by an underperforming defense. And I say that because there's a few games where, the Bears offenses are averaging up 28, 30 points a game, but the defense gives up 40. So it's like, what can you do about that?
Yeah.
Just fix that right there. All right. I'm going to be blurry for a little bit, but that's okay, guys. You can still hear what I'm saying. As for a draft grade, I did give Jayden Daniels a second round grade. And I don't mean that's where I think he's actually going to get drafted. I think that's where I would love to see him drafted. I would love to see him go in the second round because then there's less pressure on him to succeed immediately and become a franchise quarterback immediately. I gives him time, more of that patience to develop, like a Will Levis kind of a situation. But I do expect he's probably going to be a top 10 pick. So I expect that's where he will go. But I think what would be best for his development would be a second round pick. So, tell me your thoughts. Tell me, what did you see? A lot of the same stuff I saw? I'll try to get this fixed.
No. Hey, E, thank you so much for that thorough breakdown. I have exactly what you saw here, and I do just want to add a little bit more context too about his strengths. And you mentioned the amount of live reps he's had throughout his career. Guys, he's been a 5-year starter, right? Like you heard that right, 5 years. He had that COVID year. So he played 3 years at ASU, 2 years at LSU, and again, like I want you all to understand how many reps he had over the last 5 years. He already mentioned he had close to 1,400 pass attempts over the last 5 years. And you brought up Fields and how he's kind of Jayden Daniels' comp, right? You already mentioned it, but Fields had about 600 pass attempts during his college career, right? And we've all heard the noise around Fields with being a passer in the NFL. And I think in part it's because he had a larger learning curve because of the amount of reps that he had or lack of reps he had in college. Jayden Daniels going into the league with more than double the amount of pass attempts and experience that Fields had, right? So in theory, the learning curve for Jayden Daniels should be a little bit shorter than a Justin Fields because he had those amount of live reps. And even now, going back to Fields, we've looked so far over his 3-year career in the league, and he has 800-ish, a little bit more, pass attempts right now. So at this point in time, with 3 years of experience in the league, he's at the same number of pass attempts that Jayden Daniels have. And Jayden Daniels hasn't stepped inside the league yet, right? He's still in college. So I want his experience to not be understated. I think that's going to be a big point for a lot of scouts and GMs and whatnot in looking at Jayden Daniels as a future top 10 pick because he has that experience built into his toolkit, right? And then another point I want to make too. He said his draft grade is around second round pick, but you believe that he'll be a top 10 pick, and I full on agree there. I think his stock right now is going to increase a lot after the combine. Like I see him going to the combine, and guys, we all know what the combine is. It's kind of like a pony show, right? We're seeing a lot of stocks rise and fall because of the combine. I think he's going to go there and pop off like a 4.40, right? And when that happens, I think you're all going to hear a lot of noise about Daniels being that top 10 pick. Like he might even shoot up to be like the third quarterback taken after the combine, right? So I agree with all of your points. I want to see him throw with anticipation more. He didn't really need to as much at LSU, but he's going to be, I think, I don't know, nothing's been said yet, but he is a senior, so we should expect him to see him in the Senior Bowl during the week of practice and in the actual game. So we'll be able to see him in structure in an NFL-like offense, right, and see if he can throw with rhythm and timing and see that aspect from him. But, I mean, you and I kind of spoke offline for a while about him, and he's been on my radar for a little over than like a month now. And I'm intrigued to see where he lands and just to see how he grows too within his rookie year if he's kind of put in that spot to play early. Because I think he could fare pretty well given his experience again and maybe having a shorter learning curve than other first-round quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think it's a matter of we're going to be able to see how far up his draft stock is going to rise over the next couple of weeks, especially with the Senior Bowl. It'd be interesting to see him play in an NFL-style system. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are because I know we've kind of discussed it a little bit. Where would you rank him as on your top quarterback so far that we've seen? So would you have him higher than Drake May? Would you have him lower than Drake May? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, it's tough right now. I think I have Caleb as 1, and I'm going to take the easy way out. I'm going to put Drake May at 2A and probably Daniels at 2B. I'm still high on Penix too, so it's kind of hard to say right now.
2A? We're going 2A now? Oh, my God.
Hey, people have been putting Drake May and Caleb 1A, 1B. I'm not the only one here, okay?
Yeah, no.
Right.
I've heard of 1A, 1B before. I've never heard 2A, 2B. Usually it's like 1A, 1B.
He's tied right there for me. And Penix is pretty close too. So It's tough, man. I definitely have him in my top 4 right now, though. I think
Yeah.
that's safe to say. I think maybe many people do. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see if he can go in the top 3 realm. And I mean, we've seen crazy stuff happen. What if he's like top 2 by
I
April?
hope not. I'm gonna be
You
honest
know,
with you. I hope not. Just
even
because.
no.
Oh, okay. Again, I think I'm coming from the perspective of what's going to make this guy the most successful. I don't want him to be that because when you get drafted top 2, you get the Zach Wilson treatment, right? If Zach Wilson was a second round pick right now or a third round pick right now, it's a much different situation. There's less pressure for him to succeed. We don't need to keep discussing going back and forth.
That's fair.
If same thing with Jayden Daniels, if you're a second round pick, no one's calling, where's Jayden? After week 3. So when he
Yeah,
does get entered into the lineup in week 8, like a Will Levis, and he has a couple struggles for the first few weeks, people aren't losing their shit. Like, this guy's a bust. What have we done? It's more of, oh, okay, whatever. We'll check back in a
yeah,
couple weeks. Then you check back in a couple weeks, like, oh, hey, by the way, this guy's now throwing for 300-yard games and running for 100 yards, and he looks like the reincarnation of Lamar Jackson or Randall Cunningham or something. So that's
right.
why I want my
Just less pressure on him.
exactly. I would
Yeah,
love to have because he's going to take a little bit of time to develop. He's again as I said in our pros, he's quick, he's smart. I think he doesn't make the same mistake too many times. Like there was once I saw where I think it was against Army where he didn't see the underneath backer and damn near threw a pick. The other 2 games I watched, I didn't see any of that. The only other interception I saw, I think it was in the Alabama game. I actually threw one in Auburn too, but in the Alabama game, it was tipped off a D lineman's head or something like that.
yeah,
So, he didn't seem to repeat mistakes, but he does make the mistakes first and then learns from it. So if you're just watching him right out the gate for the first 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to be like, wow, this guy is terrible. It won't
yeah.
be until week 7, 8, 9 where you're like, okay, where did this guy come from? Kind of a
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So I don't want all the attention on him at the beginning. I love for him to be able to develop with little to no media coverage. So by the time he starts putting up those great numbers that he will eventually be putting up, it's more like okay, kind of a
Right.
thing.
Right.
I do want to include on here when we watched like the Drake May, the Drake May tape, you could see that there's throws that were like, okay, wow, like this dude, like that's a special arm. I don't think we ever saw any plays like that with Jayden Daniels. I think the biggest one we saw was there was a seam route against, I believe it was Army or Alabama, where the receiver it was a slot seam. He had just gotten past like hip to hip with the linebacker. Jayden read it perfectly, started separating to throw with anticipation, put the ball in between the safety, right in front of the safety, right behind the backer, allowing the receiver to make an easy catch, made the safety miss, scored a touchdown. Like that was the kind of throw I was like, okay, that's a pretty good throw. But there was never a time where like that's a 1-of-1 throw, like we saw with Drake May.
Yeah.
How much do you think that will play a role in his ceiling at the next level?
It could play some. I mean, I think they're definitely going to look at it like every game, kind of like what we did, and probably stay up to 4 a.m. Watching film. Instead, as like a joke, I know you're up to 2 a.m. watching his film, so they might do a little bit more. But I think that a lot of the evaluation is going to come during a Senior Bowl week too. Like I know it's only like a week or so, but like you're going to have NFL coaches coaching him. And to that point, like I kind of want to bring this up just like quickly. I think the Bears will be there coaching again. I know the Panthers are the worst team. The Bears own their picks. I'm not sure how that worked out. Do you know how that works
I
out?
think it's still the roster of the worst team
So
would
it'll
be
be
my
like the Panther
understanding.
staff, whoever's
I
there.
think so,
Okay.
but with them having a new coach, it may move on to the next team down the totem pole.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how that plays out too. That's a great point I had not really thought of.
So
Again, my
to
assumption
kind of
would be the Panthers, but
yeah, I would think too, but they're not picking. So I don't know if that. But to
no.
your point, like would it? Or the Bears will be there 2 years in like a row then if they do go. So I'm not sure exactly how that all works out. But let's say in theory the Bears staff does go down there. And again, I'll make this point fast. I've heard a lot of chatter about do the Bears stick with Field or draft Caleb at 1? That seemed like a surefire lock, not surefire, but 93% chance they get the first overall pick from the Panthers. What if there's a scenario where they trade out of number 1 accrue more draft, capital for future years, right? But then if they do want to take a quarterback, they go with the Jayden Daniels from picking between 5 and 10. Let's say, and if they do end up going to the Senior Bowl again, I'm not sure exactly. They would have spent more time with Jayden in person during that Senior Bowl week. So I think that's a very intriguing storyline to follow for the next, 3 or 4 months. To see if that's a possible scenario for the Bears and how that will shake up the draft. But yeah, I'll get off my Bears rant there. That's my one Bears rant for the week, y'all.
No, you're good. I was actually trying to take that time to look up, how do they pick who coaches the Senior Bowl. Like last year, it was the Bears and the Raiders, but the Raiders, I think, had the 7th pick. I believe they didn't have the 2nd pick, so I think it's kind of up to. I think it's kind of up to the discretion of the Senior Bowl organizers.
Yeah.
So I assume they won't put
the unfair to have the Bears there twice, like 2 years in a row, but
possibly.
Just for
I also think it would be unfair to put the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it'd be unfair to also put the Panthers there because it's like you guys don't have the number 1 overall pick. Yeah. So it might be like the Patriots staff potentially and the Giants staff, depending on who has the 2 and 3. It could be something like that.
Yeah.
It does seem like and that would make sense because I believe they do one NFC coach and one AFC coach because last year was Bears, Raiders. So I mean that would still work out if it's Giants, Patriots, NFC, AFC. Which if Belichick's still the coach, then I'd love to hear the storylines for that one.
Yeah,
he's treating it like the Super Bowl for some reason. We're not sure why.
I wonder how coaching changes taking effect too.
He keeps screaming at the players, "We're 17-0. We can't lose this."
Right. Blake, we're alive. This is war.
Bill Belichick had PTSD flashbacks this season at the Senior Bowl of his
no
Super
one
Bowl
wants
loss.
to play for him now.
No, anyway, so we've kind of gone off topic, so we'll call it there. But you guys tell us what you think about our Jayden Daniels draft profile. Do you agree with our draft grades, our pros or cons? Is there a game we should have watched that you felt maybe would have shown a different part of a game that we missed? Let us know in the comment section. Give us a like, subscribe. Again, we always love hearing from you guys. I feel like every time we do, we learn something new. If this is where we're losing you because you guys just want to check out where we thought about Jayden Daniels, it's been fun. We hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we do. We'll see you guys next time. For those sticking with us, for seeing how we want to fix the Chargers, thank you so much for staying with us this long. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as we are. I know me and B have fun making these every week. We try to make it as entertaining and educational for you guys as we can. But with that said, we are going to hop right into our Chargers segment, which pretty much is quickly summarized as how do you fix the Chargers? Boy, oh boy, do they have some problems to fix. Which again is kind of a wild.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a wild concept to me because they just seem like you start listing off the players. They have Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. They have all these fantastic Derwin James, fantastic guys. I don't want to leave them out. I'm sorry. But then when you start actually looking at the roster, you're like, they are such a top-heavy team. So we're going to start off. We're going to take this problem by problem, see how it goes, and move on from there. So obviously the biggest problem is the owners. So I'm sorry, I said the Sopranos.
Some like rich people.
some insert rich person name here owns the Chargers. I'm just kidding.
For real.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. But they're notoriously thought to be very cheap on spending on coaches. They usually are looking for assistants who don't have a whole lot of experience because they're going to come in a lot cheaper than maybe a more veteran coach who previously has had coaching experience or might be a top coordinator that's going to command top dollar. They've tried to always been low budget. They've had obviously Brandon Staley. Before that, they had, oh my gosh, the running back coach now for the 49ers. Oh my gosh.
There's too many. I can't even think.
Who's the running back coach for the 49ers?
No, how many coaches they've had?
Not off to a good start for this segment.
It's all right. Though.
Anthony Lynn. I'm sorry. Anthony Lynn was the head coach.
Yeah.
Yes. So my question to kind of you is how do you fix the owners being cheap because you're going to need to bring in a good head coach for this. You can't just keep getting away with or trying to put in low cost guys who don't have experience just to save a buck and hope one of them pops off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they need like therapy. Like I don't know. Like how do you fix that? How do you fix someone being cheap when you have billions of dollars to your disposal? I don't know. Like at some
Yeah.
point you gotta want to get a guy in there to like win. Like I mean, unless they're just okay with having mediocre coaches and underperforming. Like I think you mentioned it in our other segments. Like while the GM was there, what's his name again?
Tom
Tom.
Telesco.
They're under 500, right? And you just listed
Mm-hmm.
off like they always have talent, right? And then they came up where us fans came up with the phrase, Chargers are going to, be Chargers, right? They're just going to fuck things up. Like, how do you have that much talent and you're okay with like, oh yeah, we'll get like an underperforming coach in there and they can go 500 and whatever. At some point, you gotta want to win, right? I mean, this is all on the owners for putting the wrong guys in like place here. I mean, it's nothing that you can really fix. It's just, are you gonna cough up the money? And again, like it's compared to what they have right now in their assets, it's probably pennies on like the dollar, right? The cough up.
Mm-hmm.
It might seem to us like, wow, that's a record-breaking contract, but for them, it's like a bucket. It's like a drop in like a bucket. Like you gotta want to spend that money. You gotta want to see your franchise win. There's nothing that you can really do to change them. They just have to want to like do it.
And to further nail in that point, exactly what we're kind of talking about with the coaches, Brandon Staley spent one season as the Rams defensive coordinator before getting the head coaching job with the Chargers. I mean, one season. That's nothing. Can you imagine you get to a job, you spend 1 year, then the next year they make you the CEO of the company? I don't care what position you're going from. There's no way you're going to spend 1 year doing a job and then all of a sudden be qualified to be running the whole goddamn pony show here. Yeah, I agree. Hopefully this has kind of made them stop. I say them. It's the Spanos family. Hopefully this has made them kind of stop, analyze their process, realize we need to put someone who's got some experience, someone who can handle it. They've been a coordinator for a few years, and make a change and make this a competitive team. But I do want to ask you real quick, which coach do you think they should pursue? Who do you think should be at the top of their list?
I mean, I'm gonna take an easy way out and say I don't have a name for sure. Obviously, like Harbaugh's always out there, right? They're always like, "Oh, he's gonna leave college finally." Yeah, sure. Well, I'll believe it when I see it. So obviously, he should be on their short list. If good old Billy in New England gets fired, he probably makes just a short list. But I say I'm gonna take the easy way out because I'm gonna say they need a veteran coach to come in. Like no more like younger coordinators who don't have the experience, but they could pop off and be like your franchise head coach for a decade. Like no more of that. Get a veteran presence in there, a guy who has experience, who's shown that he can do it, and build like the staff from there. So that's like the answer your question. I think they need to change their like strategy, change their like mindset. Go with a guy who who could do the job well. No more younger guys. I mean, sure, yeah, we've seen cases where a younger guy pops off and he's doing awesome, and he's great. But with this type of roster, like get a guy in there who is just he has the resume to back up what he says that he can do.
Yeah, I really want to emphasize this how terrible and cheap this fucking hire was with Brandon Staley. And I don't mean to sit here and shit on Brandon Staley because he's a person, he's got a wife and kids and family, and it's not fair to him. But I mean, he spent 1 year as defense coordinator for the Chargers. Some other names that were available at the time, primarily being Nick Sirianni, was available when they hired Brandon Staley, and they went with the guy that was the cheapest for relocation costs because he was literally already in the same fucking building. To add insult to injury, I believe it was Anthony Lynn was the head coach before Brandon Staley that they fired. Do you realize who was on Anthony Lynn's staff as the offensive coordinator? Who had gotten the most? Who had helped Justin Herbert have his best season as a rookie? Shane Steichen, Shane Steichen. He was their offensive coordinator. They fired Anthony Lynn. He then went to go coach with the Eagles under Nick Sirianni, turned Jalen Hurts into an MVP candidate. Oh, and then left and went to the Colts to be their head coach. Oh, and now the Colts are killing it with no quarterback, with Jake Minshew,
Yeah.
but they're 7-6 in the playoff race after losing their starting quarterback week 3, I think it was. You had this man in the building and could have hired him and did not. So just to show how terrible the decision making has been and how cheap the coaching hires have been. As for me, a coach I want to see them bring in, because obviously Shane Steichen's not going to come knocking on the door now. Bring in Ben Johnson. I know we kind of talked about young coaches, whatever kind of a thing, but he's a guy who has multiple years of experience as an offensive coordinator. He's shown to be successful with an average quarterback, a good quarterback, not a great one, and Jared Goff. Imagine what he can do with Herbert, what he can do with that offense. Allow him to pay him what he wants. Allow him to come over, sign him to a 6-year deal. And I think would take that opportunity because, again, you get to work with Justin Herbert, which is fantastic. But the Spanos have shown to be patient with head coaches. They didn't fire Brandon Staley after the 27-0 collapse in the playoffs last year. So when you go there, you're getting a leash, unlike the Raiders, to rebuild the roster in your image. I don't mean to take a shot.
Yeah.
I'm making a reference back to our Raiders segment that we did.
Yeah.
You're more likely going to get the time to try to get this right. So I would take the money and I would bring in Ben Johnson, allow him to work with that offense to take it to the next level. As for a GM hire, I mean, I'm biased and I really wouldn't want to see this happen. I would want them to bring in, if I was the Chargers, bring in Adam Peters from San Francisco. He's their assistant GM. I think he just got promoted to GM, but there's still John Lynch above him. There's always going to be John Lynch above him. I would call him and see if he's interested in taking the same position where he has full control over everything. There's no one else above him. He's, head of all football operations and everything. He's done a great job with drafting in San Francisco. He's really played a huge pivotal role in nailing some of those later round picks, those depth kind of pieces that the Chargers have been lacking and missing under Tom Telesco, who's done a great job drafting in the first round, but struggled with the rest of the draft. So I think that would be the great hire. Again, you're going to have to open the checkbook up for him to get him to leave San Francisco. You're going to have to open up the checkbook to get Ben Johnson out of Detroit. But if you want to turn that program around, if you want to actually start building a consistent winner down in LA, that's what you do, which leads us into the next problem. They don't have a home field advantage there in Los Angeles. They left their fan base in San Diego, which, I mean, it wasn't even that strong of a fan base in San Diego to begin with. But, and what's going to get people in seats? What's going to get Chargers fans? What's going to make people become Chargers fans and get those butts in seats? Winning. Winning solves that. You solve problem A there by getting the owner to actually open up the checkbook. Problem 2 will solve itself. Or they could have just stayed in San Diego. That's an alternative solution. But what do you think? What can they do to try to improve their home field advantage?
I mean, you got to just win. I think winning just cures a lot of stuff. I'm not saying it'll happen after one season, but if you get a very good program, kind of go on a couple-year run where you're winning 10 plus games a season, competing with the Chiefs for that division, so stuff like that. I mean, no one wants to go cheer on a team that who has a bunch of talent and they just lose. No one wants I can imagine being a Chargers fan right now. I mean, I'm a Bears fan, and we know that every year it's kind of don't know if it's gonna be a good year, right? But I feel like every year we talk about the Chargers. Oh, they have a chance. They have a chance. They have the talent. It's all there, right? All the resources are there. They're gonna be good, and then they just falter year after year after year. You gotta win games. And to our earlier point, I think it's safe to say that the Chargers head coaching role will probably be one of, if not the most sought after role. That might be number one right now for a head coach, right? You got to open up your checkbook if you're the owner. So you're going to have a bunch of people. You don't even have to really go seek people. You might have people coming after you, be like, hey, I'll open my hat and the ring, can I interview for this role, blah, blah, blah. You got to open up your checkbook, and it all comes back to winning. No one wants to cheer on a team that just performs under expectations every single year. That's tough. From a fan standpoint, that's tough. You have all these Pro Bowlers, all pro players on your roster, and you win a handful of games. I mean, last year, they made it to the playoffs, but as you already said, they blew a 27-0 lead. Come on, it's hard to curate a loyal fan base when the fans see the owners, people who own the team, don't even care that much. What it seems, they might care a lot, but their actions are showing that they don't care about the franchise and winning that much if you are just being cheap all the time. So, and answer your question, dude, like you gotta win games, man. It's time to cash in on this talent.
And it goes back to the whole business saying, the more you invest in the company, the more you're going to get back. You're not investing in your team. And I mean, it can be done as simple as running a promotion. Hey, if you come to the game wearing a Chargers jersey, all concessions are 50% off.
Great.
Just something like that. Something as simple as that to get butts and seats. Now you have people in LA who are deciding, oh, do I want to go to a Chargers game or I'd rather go Hollywood movie opening or go do something. I mean, there's a lot of events in LA to distract you. People are going to maybe start picking a Chargers game instead because, if I wear my Chargers jersey, cool. Instead of it's a $15 beer, it's a $7 beer. Instead of $10 hot dogs, it's a $5 hot dog. It makes people want to go more than, maybe an alternative that might be twice as much cost wise. Just a little promo like that, something to get the people in the seats. It's kind of start getting that kind of home field advantage feeling, which is going to obviously attract, help on the field product. We've seen before how fan noise can play a role in that.
Can I say something real quick too to that point?
Yeah, of course.
This kind of rant. It blows my mind when the owners are cheap and don't want to give a high contract to a coach because they would easily make that money back if you just win.
Yeah,
with
no problem.
People attending the games, merch, all that stuff, bro. So it
in
blows
2 seasons.
my mind. Yeah, and at least, right? It blows my mind. People who have billions of dollars, I don't want to give this court or this coach, this highly sought after coach who's really really good, a $70 million contract. And that's a lot of money, dude. You'll make that money back if the team is good. I just don't get it, and that's a drop in the bucket for you. Yeah, sorry, man. That's my random rant.
No, you're good, and you're right. It really is. It's such a short-sighted view because it's the same paying I'm not going to pay my employees. Yeah, but then they're going to leave to other companies. Then you have to pay for recruitment costs. You're going to have to pay to bring the new person in, pay for the training. The production is going to be down until that new person gets up on par with what the old person could do. And you're not even know if they're going to be able to produce at the same level. You're just hurting yourself. I mean, you're mitigating your own return. And kind of speaking of money, going into the largest and biggest problem with the Chargers right now, and it's the only thing I think that really makes this job undesirable, is they are in salary cap hell. So for a little bit of the numbers, and I won't bore you guys with all of them, but going into 2024, they are 31st in cap space at negative $45 million. They have the 4th fewest players signed for 2024. So they only have 37 players signed for the 2024 season, which is, again, 27th or 28th in the league. Yeah, it is fucking wild.
Yeah.
And I think, you get 10 draft picks. So, but here's the problem. Here's the conundrum you have with it, right? As you can see and go, oh, well, there's this and that. You could just cut this guy. This guy's not performing. It's a bloated contract anyway. Move on from him, right? Here's the top 7 salaries they're paying for in 2024. Khalil Mack at 38, Joey Bosa at 36, Keenan Allen at 34, Mike Williams at 32, J.C. Jackson, who's no longer on the team, at 21 million, Derwin James at 20 million, and Justin Herbert at 19. Who do you get rid of? I mean, that's your whole fucking budget right there. Who do you get rid of? Sure. I mean, the easy solution you could say is, okay, well, we'll move on from Khalil Mack. He's 30, 33, 34,
something like that.
Whatever. So that saves you about 20 million. Cool. You're still 24 million fucking dollars over the budget. So who do you get rid of then? Joey Bosa? Keenan Allen? He's 32. Way. Maybe you could trade him, but that still only saves you about 10 to 15 million.
Yeah.
Mike Williams, who's 30, he's injury prone. No one's going to take him. You already got rid of J.C. Jackson. Are you going to get rid of your young star safety or your young star quarterback? You can't do that.
Yeah.
What do you do with this roster? And here's my concern about it. I'll tell you my concern, and then you can tell me who you think you should move on to. If this was a rich owner, if this was an owner that was willing to open up the checkbook and pay for things, this is a very easy cap fix. You convert the salaries to the minimum, make the rest a signing bonus, pay it off, add it on, and spread it over the next 5 years for cap hits, which reduces the cap hit overall. Right? Very easy to fix. You do that with Joey Bosa. You do that with Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, guys that are going to be on the field, they're going to be producing whatever. Very easy to do. Yeah, it frees up all the money you need. You don't have to lose the talent, but you got to pay it out of your own pocket.
Yeah.
I don't believe the Spanos family are people that are going to do that. I think they'd rather just keep rolling with what they got.
Yeah.
But you tell me, from that list of people I mentioned, I think you have it on your notes as well. We could put it up or try to put it up in the episode. Who would you move on? And before I let you speak, I want to have our fans, I want people watching this video tell us down in the comment section, who do you guys think from the list? Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Derwin James Jr., and Justin Herbert. If you're the new Chargers GM, who are you moving on to create cap space? Let us know in the comment section. Give us a like and subscribe. We do this every week. But with that, Bea, I'm gonna let you answer the question. Who are you getting rid of from that list?
Yeah, I mean, from this list, I'm definitely getting rid of Mike and Khalil Mack, honestly. Which sucks because Khalil Mack's going to be another victim of a new regime change. Like, obviously, when Ryan Poles stepped in with the Bears, that was like one of his first moves. Like, okay, we're trading Mack. Even though, like, Mack's been playing super well, too. People haven't been talking about him. I think he has over, like, 15 sacks right now this season or something like that. Like,
I believe so.
For as old as he is, he's still like a top 5, top 10 edge. So maybe you can find a team who is trying to make a run for the title, who will just carry his like cap hit and his rest of his like contract, and you can trade him. But yeah, I think you obviously got to keep Bosa. He's younger. I think he's a staple of your defense. Keenan Allen, I know he's a little bit older, but he's still like producing at like a higher level. And obviously, like you have to keep Justin. Like he's your franchise quarterback, right? He's not going anywhere. Yeah, I don't know. I actually fear. Yeah, go.
I was going to say, so I have Spot Track pulled up right now because I was playing with this last night and I was trying to figure out the most effective way to do this. And you said there's no way you're trading Khalil Mack, like not because he's not a good player. No one's taking on that contract for a 34-year-old. It's not happening. Again, he's producing, but no one's giving up valuable draft capital for that. So best bet, you gotta maybe release him, or maybe you swap him for a 6.
Trade him for like a 6th-round pick or something, like something as cheap as that for his contract. It's like a trade-off.
Here's the thing: would that make sense? Sure. If you're another team, why would you do that? The Chargers have to get rid of players. They have to get under budget. Why would you help them out and send them a pick? Fuck it. Let them release him, and then you can just sign him for whatever you want. Or if you think you're confident we can coerce him to come to our team and offer him a good deal that's going to be better, not as, salary strapped as, a $30 million deal, a cap figure hit next year. Why would you help him out? So I did, and same thing with Mike Williams, who's 30, but he's, injured every single year. It's the biggest complaint about him. He's a good player, but he can't stay healthy. So why would anyone trade for him? I'm not going to pay, I take a $32 million cap hit for him for a guy that's going to give me 5-6 games a year. But I do want to bring this up because I pulled it up. So with your decision, and I had to release him. So I released Khalil Mack and Mike Williams, according to the Spot Track build a roster. The Chargers are still over the budget by $2 million. So even with that, you still have to make another move and you still have no money to sign anybody. So you have to get rid of a third player. Your options left are Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen, Derwin James, Justin Herbert, and I'll throw in Corey Lindsey here, who's the center, who's 33 and has a $14 million cap hit.
Probably him, honestly.
So you're going to get rid of the Chargers starting center.
Yep.
I'm sure Justin loves that.
Out of this list, yep.
Perfect. So now you have $7 million in cap space. Cool. Go sign 17 players with that.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me, dude. And that's why I say it's a tough situation because now you've just lost a guy who had 15 sacks. You're, probably one of the better number 2 receivers in the league, but is injury prone. And now you're starting center. So
yeah.
Maybe you make it up by trying to sign Connor Williams.
This is what happens when you put all your chips in to go win a title because you have all these big ass contracts and like they just flopped, right? Like if they sold their soul and they went and won a title, you would know like okay, yeah, we might have to like rebuild this from the ground up now, but at least we got that like ring, right? Now you're looking at we have less than like 8 wins or whatever how many wins. I think they have like 4 or 5 right now, or maybe 6. I don't know. And now, what I'm getting at is the alternative would be they could just completely just clean house. Besides Herbert, right? They could get rid of everyone on that list if they really wanted to.
Yeah, and again, this also doesn't even include from this list that this is pending free agents for the Chargers, by the way. They're losing Austin Eckler,
okay.
Mike Davis, who's a corner for them, Gerald Everett, the tight end, and Kenneth Murray, who's their starting linebacker, are the biggest names, and you can include Josh Kelly as a backup running back for them, that they're losing to free agency. So,
I mean, they don't even have money to re-sign those guys, especially Eckler.
No, you don't. You don't. I mean, let's see what's available on the center.
I mean, guys, we might be facing a total turnover of this roster going into 2024.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. I mean, again, maybe with the decisions you've made, maybe you can move on from Keenan Allen. I mean, again, he's 32. Maybe he's willing to bring Chase, and there might be a team that's willing to take him on as a number two. You know, you're looking at maybe the Jaguars might want him, or the Ravens might be looking to add an additional receiver piece, and are willing to trade him and take on that cap hit. If you do that, then that gives you about. Let me see. Move it back on here. Oh, God, I don't want to do that. Let's give me 1 second to try to just mess around, trade him for a random player here. Cool. Something that's just kind of whatever. Saves the budget there. So if you trade him, that gives you about $15 million in cap space. So then you now have money to go, maybe play around and try to sign some people. But now you have your top receiver is Josh Palmer. You have no running back. You lost your center. You have to go find. Hopefully, maybe you can sign Connor Williams. So, it. I'm sorry that I misspoke. That give you $28 million in cap space. So at least some money to go play with and try to sign some guys. But
now that we talked through it, I'll put my money to this new GM, this cleans house, bro. Honestly.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at like a Chicago Bears type of rebuild where you get rid of every major name and contract and just start from like the ground up. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, that would make the most sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that would make the most sense to me. Get rid of Khalil Mack. If you can trade him. I really doubt you can move him. Joey Bosa, I think I'd probably move on. You're 29. You could use the money, and he's probably going to fetch you the largest draft haul. Keenan Allen, you could probably flip for maybe a fourth or a fifth. Again, he's 32. He's got a little bit of an injury history. He's got a huge cap hit. So maybe a new team will be willing to take that on for a fourth and fifth round pick. Mike Williams, maybe you get a sixth. You can't move on from Derwin James. I mean, that's one of your building pieces, your star young guys who's still reasonably priced. But those top four bloated contracts, I mean, you're kind of in a position where you need as much draft capital as you can because you need young, cheap, good talent in there. And you need as many shots at that as you can. So, yeah, it might just be a offseason where we're seeing them, saying goodbye to Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams.
Yeah,
so
Eckler's probably gone.
Yeah, for sure. There's no way you're re-signing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way. And they've already shown they don't want to re-sign him. He doesn't want to seem like he really wants to be there. They've underutilized him all season long. So, I mean, yeah, we could be looking at a completely different Chargers team, which might not be a bad thing for them. They need to get young, fresh, good talent in there. They need to start landing on these draft picks. You can't keep having a Quentin Johnson kind of a draft pick. You need guys in the back end of that draft that can come in and contribute for $500,000 or $1.2 million a year and not $38 million, $36 million a year. So, but we're gonna call it there. You guys let us know in the comment section what you think. Do you like our decisions? Who would you move on from that salary cap hell situation? Do you think the draft is the best way for the Chargers to go right now? Let us know in the comment section. Give us a like and subscribe. But we've been the RFL Show. This is going to end our podcast episode for the week. You guys can find us on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. I've been Emmett. This has been B. We'll see you guys next time.